your girl, Doc Sunny, and I have a very special guest. She's very dear to
Mhm.
my heart. She's probably one of my friends that's known me the longest, and there are only a few people in my life that have known me this
That
long.
long.
But she's a beautiful soul. She's a wonderful spirit, and everywhere she goes, people see her light. And I couldn't think of a better person that I wanted to bring to all of you to talk about her spiritual journey and how she's become to be so dope, how she's come to just be this amazing human being and mother. And so, Jamila, I call her Jay. I have other names for her, but because of the audience, I'm going to keep it like, respectful. It's my sister Jay. Jamila, tell the good people who you are.
Well, thanks for having me, Sunny. Sorry, Dr. Sunny. I don't know.
No, you had it right the first
Sunny,
time.
Sunny, because you're my Sunny. I'm Jamila Davis Hernandez. That's my full government. I am a native of Southside Jamaica, Queens, so Queens in the house. Grew up in New York, went to school at Lincoln University. That's why I met Sunne-Ryse. And from there, the journey just began. And I've always been a lover of fashion, even from my college days. So I am currently the vice president of men's shoes and accessories at Saks Fifth Avenue. A long journey to get there, but I got there. And I am the wife and mother of two beautiful kids, Cesar, who's 10, and Sloan, who's 8. And I also have two bonus children who are 19 and 16. And what else can I say? I am currently on the board of directors for BRAG, which stands for Black Retail Action Group, which supports Black and POC entrepreneurs and students who want to get into fashion. I am also on the executive board of Black and Fashion Council, which promotes the voices of all Blacks and POCs in fashion and beauty and editorials, magazines. And I'm also a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta. We can be friends.
I was waiting for you to throw that one in there.
We can be friends. Deltas and AKs can be friends. It's okay. It's okay. Really good friends. Yeah. And just all around, rock mom. That's rock mom. That's what I do. That's what I do.
I would agree. And I think hearing you say all of that, it brings me, like, the whole purpose of this show is for us to talk about the journey, and to hear you say all of those things that you just said, and knowing you when you were cutting edge, progressive in fashion, when we were back on Lincoln's campus, you were doing things that other people were unwilling to do. Taking so many risks fashion wise. I'm looking at you and this is crazy for me because it's like, it's full circle.
It's full circle. Remember our photo shoots that we used to do? I didn't realize what I was doing. I was a creative director. We were wearing denim and white tights, but I was a creative director. Right?
I was positioning us. You were like,
yes,
no, I was there.
I was. So I didn't know it was preparing me for what I'm doing now. It's all about the journey.
And that is part of this conversation, right? So when you think of your journey from when we were those young women, so impressionable.
Oh my God.
And I do believe that in those moments, all of our personalities of who we were right there on the surface.
Yes.
I think about myself and I'm like,
yeah,
girl, you've always been like an old soul talking about
always.
Right?
Always.
What has your journey been like? And like, what does divinity mean to you? Like, you think of that journey, where does divinity fit in for you?
Well, to think about my spiritual journey, I have to go back to the beginning. And my first exposure to God and the church started very early. I was raised by a single mom. And I feel like because she didn't grow up in the church, that she wanted her children to be in the church.
Yeah.
So, we would go to Sunday school, but we never really had a church home early on. But growing up in where I grew up in Queens, it was very rough. So a lot of times my mom would ship us away for the summer. And the one place that she found that she could keep us, and again, when I say us, I mean my younger sister and I have an older brother.
Mm-hmm.
So for me and my younger sister, for us on the summer to keep us out of trouble and to keep us, she sent us to an Episcopalian church camp for 8 weeks. 8 weeks every summer. I would literally get out of school. Like last day of school, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go, like ready to like run the streets. A week later, I was up in Wading River, Long Island for 8 weeks in a row. And then by the time I came back, I had a couple of days and it was right back to school. So I had no time.
There was no street running.
No street running, no street running. And this is the one thing that taught me early on is even though I wasn't technically like Episcopalian, there was still a connection to just how I felt at church, even at camp, even at age 7. I felt like it was, the chapel on the campgrounds overlooked like Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
So literally, when the sun would set, it would just be like, and there was a beautiful cross like in the back of the, of the chapel. So I just remember being like, this is just so. It was very heavenly, and you coming from where I grew up in Queens and then having this escape and being almost like, I'm like, this place is literally heaven to me. And even though it was very traditional, but studying all of the hymns, like even like the Kumbaya, my Lord, all that stuff. I would come back home from camp and everybody was like, why are you singing Kumbaya? What the hell are you doing? I'm like, because, and I didn't realize like, this is a way of self-soothing, right? This is how I was, in times of trouble, I had these hymns that I grew up with at the camp, even though it was Episcopalian.
Yeah.
And I brought that home with me. And I realized when I look back on that time that like that was my foundation because I went to camp from age 7 to 16. So you figure 8 weeks.
I know that.
Yeah, 8 weeks every summer from age 7 to 16. So it was like I didn't have a real chance to really like get into any trouble, but I didn't realize it was building a strong foundation that I had with God. Like the foundation was thick, like it was a nice thick foundation. So our Sunday meetups, we were like, oh, we're just gonna get together and talk, and then they turned into 4-hour. We didn't know what it was at the time, but it was a prayer circle.
That's
right.
Crazy that you say that. It's true.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
It was a prayer circle. And, we would do that and it would just be, we would cry, we would laugh, but it was like, and these are the things that you do in church.
Yeah.
Pastor says something funny, you're like, ha, 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 and then all of a sudden he talks to you and gets to your right spirit. And you're like, you start sobbing because you realize like, that's me, he's talking to me. So I feel like from there, after Lincoln and going out into the world, right? It was, and it was the 90s. So going out to the world.
You know what was happening then.
Exactly. And then you kind of, and then I always feel for people in their 20s because that's when you kind of like, you forget your foundation and you forget, like
those roots
and what God has been telling you your whole life. And you're like, and you get to your 20s, you're like, I don't listen to you. I'm gonna go to the club. I'm gonna go date this man that doesn't value me. I'm gonna go like, you do all the things that you're like, that you're like, wait, God's like, wait a second, we had a plan, and you're like, don't worry about that. I'm not worried about that plan. God, I remember that plan. This feels right to me, even though it feels wrong, right? It feels.
Oh, that's good. That
right?
Good.
And you're like
about that, like that.
Oof.
Sometimes because the way you said it just now, you were like, it feels good, but we know it doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. And now, for sure, when I look back on that time, I was doing a lot of things that looked good from the outside. I was dating a guy who knew celebrities. I was going to all the parties. I was, flying here, flying there. And I was like, it looked good on the outside, but it didn't feel good in the inside. Every time I feel like the volume just kept getting louder and louder. Like it starts as a whisper, right? God whispers to you at first. And then you're like, I'm going to the club. Let me just figure I can't hear that. Turn up that club music, DJ. Turn that up. Turn it up. It's my song. And then all of a sudden, the whisper starts coming to like as a tap. God's like, and you're like, I said, I like, just wait a second. Hold on a second.
Coming up. The song's coming up.
I will meet you later. Then all of a sudden, it goes from a tap to like a nudge, right? Like a nudge, like someone like, and you're like, I said I'll be right there. And then you think this has to work because I've ignored the whispers. I've ignored the tapping, and he pushed me, and I do nothing, right? And then you're like, it has to work. I have to keep going this direction
because I've already started on this course.
I know, and I feel like God uses your friends to kind of, remind you of, wait, you told me back in school, like when we were like freshmen in college or sophomore, we were in college and we were sitting around talking about what we were going to do. And you told me your dream job, and this is not your dream job, not in a bad way, right? Not in a bad way. None of my friends were like, you're not doing good. Like everyone's like, well, if you like it, I love it. But I'm just reminding you.
There was a different course that you had envisioned for yourself.
Yes. And that's why God puts people in your life, especially in your friend group.
So what was your nudge? Because you talked about the whisper, the tap, the nudge. What was yours that had you change course?
And I decided to move to Colorado, right? I was working with a small company and I enjoyed what I was doing, but I was like, I need this promotion. I've been working here a whole year and a half. I run this whole joint, like real, like, they were like, I run this whole joint. I was doing fashion shows. I was doing other things. I was like, I'm hot because you hot because of me, and when I look back, I was like, I'm like, oh, and I'm still friends with like all of the owners and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, you was really feeling yourself. And I was like, and I moved to Colorado because I had some line sisters that were living out there, and they're like, just come out here and you can like start over and do it. And I'm like, okay, let me give it a try. Let me give it a try. And again, the relationship, I was like, maybe. When I look back, I realized I was really trying to escape my life. I was really trying to escape a man. I was trying to escape a man. I was trying to like escape. I'm like, if I leave New York, maybe he'll just forget about me.
Wow.
And then I won't have to be in this, like, again, because it looked great on the outside, but on the inside, it was not good. It didn't feel good.
Didn't align with God's plan.
Exactly. And I said, well, maybe I'll just leave and then, we'll, break up eventually. And I will scream this to the mountaintops. Men never, ever, ever will leave a good thing. And if your foundation, if they know, especially, and you can be a woman of God and the person you're dating is not a person, in the, I'm going to say even in the church, a man of God, it doesn't matter. Like, light will always attract darkness, right? And darkness will always try to figure out how to like overcome the light. Wow. So even when you're running, I was like, okay, he's going to forget about me. He's going to whatever, because he didn't care about me when I was here. So I was like, well, he's not going to care about me when I go. Yeah. And it was the exact opposite. I'm going to tell you the kick. The kick was when I said, okay, I have to move back home, right? I was like, I got to move back home. And I moved back home, and the day I don't know what age group watches this, but the day, the day,
Only, this only grown folk, only grown
folk. Okay. The day I got back, that man picked me up from the airport. He was so excited, roses, dinner, everything. And the whole time I'm just sitting there like, I'm just like this. And I'm like, why? I'm looking like, why is he so happy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are you so happy? And he was like, it's gonna be great. We're gonna be like, oh, like maybe you can move in, all stuff like that. And I was like, yeah. And I went, like, spent the night at his house, everything like that. All of a sudden, we wake up to this. I'm like, who's that? He's like, but banging and over and ringing and over and over. And I'm like, what is going on? And all I hear is a woman's voice. You're gonna nut it. Like, I was like, oh Lord. I said, I don't think I know if I told you this story, Sunny. It happened so long ago.
That was the kick.
That was the kick. That was, God said, oh, you won't believe me? I'm gonna show you. And I was like, he's like, oh no, it's a delivery. It's a delivery, sir. UPS. First of all, UPS don't be screaming at me. Like, yeah. And he said, hey, stay here, whatever. Finally, God was like, get your stuff. Get your stuff. So whisper, tap, nudge, kick. Like, it was like, okay, like, get your stuff and get out. And I remember I was getting my stuff and I left, and sure enough, there was a woman downstairs.
Wow.
And she looked at me like I not only stole her bike, but stole her man. And I'm like, I was living in Denver. I didn't even think he was gonna follow me, but here he is. Like, I don't have a nice day. You can have him.
Absolutely.
And he's like over there fighting with her. I kindly got into my car. He had like stuff in my car. I left it all on the street. Here you go. On the street. Left it all on the street. I knew I wasn't coming back. God was like, I already kicked you, so we're not. Yeah.
So God's like, after this,
God's like, well, I showed you. Hello. So I said, all right, and I put that key in the ignition, and I haven't looked back. And after that, that's when I started working, at Macy's. And then I started working. Then I eventually got the job at Saks, working on the sales floor. Yeah. And not only did it start to look right, it felt right too. Right. It felt right too. And I look back on my time at Lincoln, and this is why HBCUs are so important, because I knew the dream job was a possibility. Like, I knew it was achievable.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mean, maybe if I went to another school, I would, but I feel like Lincoln HBCUs, like, they beat it into you from like day one, freshman orientation. Like, you have to be the best. There's so many people that are, behind you. You have to excel. You have to be excellent. And I feel like between the HBCU foundation and my spiritual foundation, Teflon, baby. I'm Teflon. Like, my ancestors behind me.
What healing did you do after the clothes on the sidewalk?
Oh gosh.
Like, because I know from personal experience, it's not an overnight, right?
No.
The kick will get you out of the immediate space.
Yeah.
Still work that you got to do for yourself. So what were some of the things that you felt like you did, or the practices that you even do now that help you to be Teflon Don?
Well, number one, taking care of my body, working, exercise, everything just flows better.
Yeah.
Just flows better. And I definitely exercising. I was journaling because I was sad, right? And yeah, your friends are there, but then sometimes you don't even know, like, you can't even put it into words how you feel. So when you put that pen to paper, it really helps. And then when you look back at how, like, your sadness each day gets less and less as you write it out. Like,
Yeah.
you're really sad, crying on the paper. Next day, a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I
I'm
bought a cute
good.
shirt today. it goes right to
I
that.
love my job.
I know,
Dream career.
and you're like, I don't, and all of a sudden I'm looking forward to a girls trip. Like, you're like, oh, what happened to all that? And putting that out. So and the exercise, the journaling, finding a church. I found a church, First Corinthians Baptist Church in Harlem.
Yeah.
Pastor Michael Waldron is like, he's amazing. And my girlfriend took me, and I felt like he was speaking directly to me. Like everybody went away and he was speaking directly to me. And once I had that, those are the three things, exercise, journaling, and then going to church. And of course, friendship. And, friendship is everything. I'm so thankful for you as a friend. I'm so thankful that I have, and I look at there's a lot of women that don't have any friends. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I feel for them. I feel for them, because it's like, man, they're like, there's nothing like, a good friendship, a good sisterhood,
Your friends, I feel like our friends, ours literally, but also having good friendships are like having angels that God sent into your life.
Yes, 100%. Because there's nothing like someone sending you like a random text, like, hey girl, and you're like, oh my God.
You were thinking about me.
You were thinking about me, and I needed you to be thinking about me at the time, because, I had this, I was on my heart, or I didn't even know, and I feel like along the way, God has, every single step I've made, it was like every single step I've made is guided, every single step. And before, I used to think, oh, well, I was busy with my job, so I wasn't going to be able to go to church enough, and I wasn't able to do this, and I wasn't able to do that. And, I kept it simple. Like, let's just say my prayers at night, right? Like, I wasn't going to church on a regular, but I just say my prayers at night, and just, asking for, God to give me strength, God to just like watch over my, friends and family. And I read a lot of like daily devotionals. I'm a big fan of daily devotionals.
Those are amazing.
Daily devotionals. So like, for all the rock moms, career moms, like, or regular, just busy, those daily devotionals, like, I know it doesn't, you seem like you're not, it feels like oh, that's not enough. No, it's like, anytime you can just devote 10 minutes to God, and you build it up like a muscle. But those daily devotionals, it really sets your day. Like, it puts everything into perspective and brings you back to him, on a daily basis. So yeah, maybe you didn't miss church on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday, you're like, you're reading scripture and reading these devotionals that kind of, will give you perspective. So, but yeah.
What would you tell like a young mom out there who, maybe she's journeying, trying to find herself and her career and all of that, like, from your experience, just and not advice like better.
Yeah.
From your heart and your spirit, like, how would you encourage her?
Tell them two things. I say, I do what I love for my career, and I married the right man. Those are the two things I say.
Wow.
Because historically, I wasn't with the right person, and that would have aged me. When I look, I would have been like aged when you're stressing out about your mate all the time, that wears on you, right? Just like how it wears on you when you're not living up to your full potential.
Ugh.
So those two things will age you before your time. So for anyone who's out there and they're like, wait, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. I know I'm not, this doesn't feel right. Like, and I say this a lot, people disregard their talent, right? People disregard something that you do very easily. That's a talent, people disregard it, like, oh, I can't make money doing that. I'm just really good at that, you know? And when we were talking about, you know, college and Ziana, our fashion club and college, when I look back at that, I'm like, oh, I was good at it. Right. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to like make anything of it, but you have to find that whatever talent you have, and we all have one, because I didn't realize what came easy to me was a talent. I didn't realize that other people couldn't do what I do. I thought, oh yeah, it's simple. You just do this. That's the start of like, okay, what do I want to do with my career?
Mm.
And then I don't even want to use the word grind. You just focus, right? Because you shouldn't. I say don't grind, because earlier on in my career, I definitely like dove head in first, and I worked really long hours, and maybe I didn't spend enough time with myself, right? I didn't give myself enough time. But you have to figure out what is that thing that's a talent for you, and there's a career attached to it, 100%. And then you put that time in. You know, the 10,000 hours.
Yep.
From the book The Outliers from Malcolm Gladwell, which is one of my favorite books, because when I read that, I'm like, oh, I've been putting 10,000 hours into fashion and I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find out what's the thing that you're going to put your 10,000 hours into.
Yeah.
And if you have children along the way, it makes you a better mother. Do you know how, like, my children, when I work, they're not like, oh, mommy's gonna come home mad. Like, when I work, I come home like happy, because I'm doing what I love. It makes you a better parent. It sets a great example for your kids. And I want to stress, because I feel like, especially now with social media, like, there's this sense of like a need to look shiny, right? There's a need to look shiny. I have to look shiny. It has to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be, you know, and you don't have to be shiny or the prettiest or the smartest or like have the most followers to really, you know, find your place. Right.
Let me end on this, the whispers, right? Because it's funny, there's a running theme with every guest that's been on. Everyone has a kind of a different listening for how they hear from God. So, how do you hear from God? Like, I know a previous guest, it was through music. My last guest, it was through running.
Yeah.
You know, so different people, you know, one guest, Tenora, said it was a feeling. So
Yeah.
you described whisper, but what was literally the whisper for you?
Oh, the whisper.
Was it a call, or was it like a person coming to you? Was it a dream? What was it?
So I do have dreams. I do have dreams. I do see myself in certain places and I'm like, I don't know why I'm in this place, right? It doesn't make sense to me at the time. Um the whispers are through people I meet, right? That's how it happens. Like, and every single time I meet someone new, I'm my authentic self. Like, God will pull that person back into my life or connect me with that person with another person, and it's not immediate. It's over time. It's a journey over time. And because I was my genuine, authentic self and didn't present something that was false or fake, the person remembers that, and then they'll connect me with, you know, with something big that I asked God for.
Wow.
So my whispers come through interactions with people. You know, not everyone has a relationship with God, and that's okay. That's, you know, okay too. So, but maybe their relationship, you know, with God starts with me, right? When they ask me about my journey and how I got there, and wasn't it hard, and how did you get through? And I always, you know, I say God on those nights when I'm like, I can't do this. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm smart enough. You know, I go to school, I go to work with, you know, people that went to Ivy League, and I didn't go to Ivy League colleges. You know, people went to fashion. I don't have a fashion degree, you know, and if a younger person who admires me for all the work I've done in my career, and they're like, well, how'd you get there? And I'm like, you know, I worked hard, and also God gave me the strength. I ask God for strength every day. And it's like, God, like, what do you like? Wait, you don't look like someone, you don't look like someone who goes to church all the time. I'm like, what does that look like?
Look like?
What does that look like? What does that look like?
And that was the purpose, one of the purposes that I did this show for.
Yeah.
Really want, because I have tats and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm also an ordained minister, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to take away that our journey with God, one, is personal. It's so personal, but it's also purposeful.
Yes.
Our journey
100.
is uniquely our journey because God has a unique purpose for us.
Mm-hmm.
Our journey was like anybody else's, it would lose the effect that it would have on someone else.
Yeah.
100%. I'm for me, this conversation, what stood out for me is your foundation and how your mom wanted to get you out of the concrete jungle and just was like, where's the best
anything? Like, oh, we have to be Episcopalian? Well, we're Episcopalian then. I'm like, we Baptist. No, you're not. You Episcopalian. Shh. Don't say nothing. You Episcopalian.
June to August, you're Episcopalian.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right? So those hymns, all of that will never, ever leave your soul.
No.
Even when we were in the club, wrong relationships. It's almost like God just kept like, girl, come on back.
Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. And what's so great about that is like, you don't have to feel bad, right? Like when even if you haven't, been in church in a long time, or I don't know. I can't quote Bible scriptures. I can't do that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I do know that one, but but at the same time, like when you come back, it's not a requirement. When you come back, you're like, oh my God, this feels so good. It feels so good. You feel that, like that's my makeup routine, right?
Wow.
Like giving God glory in the mornings, just like doing my devotionals in the mornings. Like that's the ultimate glow up. That's the ultimate glow up. Like that's where it starts. What you put in, like, right? It comes out. Yeah. And you got to put in, the spirituality, whether journaling is putting in your spirituality, putting that down on paper, breathing, like right? People think we breathe. We don't breathe.
Nope.
Breathe, like actually breathing. That's spiritual. We were on vacation. We were in Florida visiting my grandmother. We're on the beach, and they're like, "Thank you, God, for the sand. Thank you, God, for the sun." And I'm like, "Oh, like that's how it starts." Like none of this.
Laying the foundation.
Laying the foundation. Laying the foundation. So
that's what we're going to call this episode. Laying the
foundation. That's a good one.
It always comes full circle, right? Look, how your mom laid the foundation was very different, but you are doing the same thing for your kids.
Yeah.
You're laying a foundation that when they are older and they go into their lives, they'll at least recognize that there's a tap.
Yes.
Even if they don't listen.
Yes.
They'll recognize there's a tap.
Yes. Oh. And then hopefully I'll be there to be the shout as a mom. Like, don't do it. But yes.
Listen, I love you. I love you too. This was so much fun. I love listening to you talk about life, but just even I did not know that whole Episcopalian thing. I had no idea.
It doesn't come up that much.
It doesn't come up that much. But it's clear. It's clear how your compass brought you right back.
Yeah.
And you couldn't avoid it. Even if you were like, I ain't following.
Yeah, I know. I was bob and weaving. It was like, nope.
But eventually that North Star found you. So
yeah. And that's what you see today, like this glow, this, everyone's like, what do you, it's but God, like everything. Foundation. That's that foundation.
That's the
Someone sends you an email, you can like foundation. Let me go back to my foundation. We all God's children. We all God's children. We all God's children. Kumbaya. Kumbaya. Let me respond. Let me respond back. Like let me, that's that foundation. You can use it in anything.
Well, how can the people find you or support you? I know you mentioned some of your organizations.
Yes. So I am on Instagram, Jamila Davis Hernandez. You can find me there. I do answer DMs. So like if you ever have a question, I'll answer your DM. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me there if you have any career questions there too. And then also support Bragg. It's a nonprofit Black Retail Action Group. You can find us on Instagram as well. For Giving Day. So for those who want to donate, or we're planning some events coming up in the future. If you want to attend those, please do. Follow our Instagram for the events updates. And Black and Fashion Council, again, that's supporting Black designers and beauty editors, and also in the magazine business. Follow them as well. I mean, that's it. That's it. Thank you for having me. This is so good. This is so nice. This is so nice. I'm so proud of you. Sorry, I'm so proud of you.
So while you were directing me on the step at Lincoln, I was like, okay, who am I praying for now? Like, right,
yes.
You're directing fashion wise. I was like, okay,
exactly.
Lord, who needs help?
Exactly. And in our prayer circles, you would always tie it back to a scripture because you know the Bible so well. Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like it'd be like, you're right. Like, so and reminding everyone, you always reminded everyone like the foolishness. You're like, do not. That was you every time. You're like, and you'd be like, no, don't be in the foolishness. Like, okay, like the foolishness is this way. Sunny was always going this way. Like, okay, the foolishness is over there. I'm over here. Like, and you're like, wait, but like, no, don't like.
I was like an old daggone church mother and like
you were not with it. You're like, no, no drama free. So good example of that for us.
It is. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Check us out next week. You know what to do. I always say my son never wants me to forget. You want to subscribe, comment, share, like, and I'm from the Caribbean, so I love you, good people. I love you like cooked food.
Cooked food. Love you like cooked food.
In honor of our best friend, Jamila and I share a best friend that we love so dearly, who transitioned a few years ago. And I've been saying I love you like cooked food, but I haven't told you where I got it from.
Yes.
That's actually from our best friend. So
yes.
I love you all like cooked food
girl.
On behalf of our girl Lulu.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week. Deuces, good people.
All right. Bye.